Okay. So last class, this is where we left off. We spent the entire day talking about how to display data. We did a dot plot. We did a histogram. We did a stem and leaf plot. We talked about center. We talked about skew left, skew right, symmetric, how many mounds, variability. We talked about a lot of stuff, a ton of calculator stuff, doing it by hand. All of that we did last class. But the only way you're going to be good, is if you practice. You have to practice. You have to practice. You have to practice. There's kind of no way around it. You have to practice. So what happens is, now that we're going over this one, let's see how we did. Okay, so I asked you to put the data in list 2, not in list 1, list 2, and let's see how we do. Okay, so first of all, let's do the calculator stuff. Every time we work on the calculator, what we're going to do is make sure we have a clean calculator to start with. Make sure we have a clean calculator to start with. Okay, so we go to the calculator, we push y equals, make sure there's nothing in y1, nothing in y2. If you have plot 1 highlighted, that's okay because we're going to use it. But if you have like 1, 2, maybe 3 things highlighted, that's going to be a problem. So you want to make sure that either all of these are unhighlighted or maybe just one is highlighted because you did this at home. Okay, so start with a clean calculator. And then we're going to talk about how to put the data in the calculator. So what do I push to put that data in my calculator? What do you push? Stat. Then what? Number 1 for edit. So all of your data should be in list 2. And I'll give you a minute. Double, triple check your data. Make sure all of your data is in list 2. If one number is wrong, the whole thing's wrong. So I'll give you a minute to double check that. You do have a couple of calculators for everybody to borrow. I'm going to cut them. Hurry up, there's 2 left. There's 1 left. Okay, so step 1, put the data in the calculator. Step 1, put the data in the calculator. Are we all together? Any questions? Double, triple check the numbers. Okay. Step 2, we have to tell the calculator we want a histogram. So to do that, we hit second y equals, second y equals, second y equals. Okay? Second y equals, second y equals. I say it like 3 times. Okay? Now, you have to decide, am I going to go into plot 1, plot 2, plot 3? Well, we're only seeing one thing, so we're only going to use plot 1. So make sure you push 1 for plot 1. Push 1 for plot 1. Push 1 for plot 1. Make sure that plot 1 is turned on by pushing enter on top of on. Enter on top of on. Push down to the right. Make sure you've chosen the histogram. Make sure you've chosen the histogram. So right now it should be on, and we should have the histogram. Everybody with me? On. Push down to the right for histogram. Push enter on top of histogram. And remember, our data is not in list 1. Where's our data? List 2. So we push down, and we make sure that this is list 2. How do I do list 2? Second 2. Second 2. So to make sure we're good, plot 1 should be on. We have the histogram. Nobody said push 1, it's like 3 times. Push 1. Good. Turn it on. Push enter on. Push down to the right. That's a histogram to the right. That's a histogram. Push enter. Push down Where's the data? List 2.
List 2,
So
so
second of 2. Second 2. Now you're there. Okay. Now, step 1, put the data in the calculator. Step 1, put the data in the calculator. Step 2, set up your stat plot on histogram list 2. Now, step 3 was the shortcut. We're going to hit zoom 9, but remember, before you hit zoom 9, you don't want your cursor here. You want to move it up. So let's go up, up. Put your cursor up, 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 just like mine. Once your cursor's up, then you're going to press zoom on the top row, zoom the number 9, zoom 9, zoom 9. Are we okay? If you do zoom 9, it does the window for you, but everyone's picture should look the same. Does everyone's look like mine?
Yes.
Now, if it doesn't look like mine, the very first step is you're supposed to do stat, edit. You're supposed to put the data in list 2. So if the data is not in list 2, you can't graph list 2. You have the numbers from last class? That's a copy of the one that we did. Those are. So last class, this was the data. Last class, this was the data. Okay? So we're going to draw what we see. Everybody got the same picture?
Yes.
Okay, so let's draw what you see. And then we can talk about it once we get all the pictures back. So there's the bar. There's the next one. Now, zoom 9 is good because it does the window for us. So that's kind of nice. But it's not good because it does whatever it wants. It does whatever it wants. So we're going to find that out in a minute. So we draw what we see. The x-axis is hours of week work. Hours of week work. And then the y-axis is the count. How many? Okay, so number 1, draw what you see in the calculator. If your picture is different, it's probably because your data is off a little bit, so you just got to go back and check your numbers. But then, how did we label the histogram? What did we push to label the histogram? What did you push? Trace. So when you push trace, again, feel free to take notes, trace, notice it's talking about the first bar, because the first bar is blinking, and the first bar goes from what? 0 to 8.33, and how many people work 0 to 8.33 hours? 7. So the way to label it is 0 goes here, 8.3 goes here, and the 7 goes on the side. So it's 0 to 8.3, 7 goes on the side. Now that's the first bar. How do I label the next bar? Push to the right. That bar starts at 8.3 and goes to about, let's call it 16.7. And how many people work between 8.3 and 16.7? 2. So 16.7 goes here. 2 goes here. To see the next bar, we push to the right. It starts at 16.7, goes to 25. And there's 9 in that group. The next bar goes from 25 to 33.3, and there's 3 in that group. Then it goes from 33 to 41.7 about, and there's 2 in that group. Nobody in the next group. And then we have one person that works between 50 and 58.3. And we can kind of fill in the rest. And when you're done, that's what it should look like. Now, this is not easy stuff. There's a lot of buttons to push. But please keep in mind, Last class, we didn't do one example, we did 2 examples. This is a 3rd example. Also, in your notes are step by step what buttons to press and what it looks like. In addition to that, we're videotaping everything so you can go home and not watch a generic video on how to graph. You're watching the one we did in class, right? So for some of you, you pick up the calculator really quick. Fantastic, wonderful. For some of you, calculator is really tough, and that's no problem. You're going to have to put in more work. You're going to have to watch these videos over and over again. You're going to have to check out the notes. But now you don't have 1, but you have 3 histograms that you can practice. Okay? So practice, practice, practice. Okay? Now, in addition to the histogram, yep, question.
Sorry, on the test, like, are we gonna be able to like use these steps for the calculator?
You should kind of know them, but here's the deal. For the test, you're allowed 1 creative problem. And that creative problem can be anything you want. So if the histogram is the one you're having trouble with, you make up a histogram problem, and you can put your own words, push, stat, 1, edit. You can do whatever you want. So this could be the one that you do all the calculator stuff on. And during the test, you can ask questions, help with that and all that. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is a regular stem plot. Now remember how the regular stem plot works. Our lowest is 0, our highest is 50. So the way the regular stem plot works is we draw a line, and we're going to have a zeros row. Anything that starts with 0 goes in the zeros row. So like anything with a 1 digit, right? 0 to 9. So we look at our table. What starts with a 0?
0.
0. How many do we have? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anything else start with a 0? Like 0, 1 or 0, 5 or 0, 8? No. So we have 7 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. What would the next row be? 1. So we have a ones row. Anything that starts with 1 will go in the ones row. So in order, what starts with a 1?
10, 10.
We have 10.
10.
We have another 10.
18.
18. Anything else starts with 1? So to represent the 2 10s, what am I going to put?
0, 0.
0, 0. And to represent the 18? 8. Okay. What would be the next row?
2.
2. So what starts with a 2?
20.
How many 20s do we have?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how do I represent 20? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That represents the 20s. Anything else in the 20s?
23.
We have a 23. Anything else? 24. So we'll put a 3 and a 4. Okay, what will be the next row? 3. So in the 3s, what do we have?
30.
We have a 30,
2
2 30s,
Yeah.
and a 32.
32, yeah.
So how do I represent that?
0, 0.
0, 0, 2. Okay? For the 40s, what do I have for the 40s?
2 40s.
So we have a 40 and a 40. So I put 2 zeros. And then do I have anything in the 5s?
Yes.
What do I have in the 5s?
50.
I have a 50. So I put a 0. Okay? So take a second. Make sure it looks like yours. Now, I want to be mean. Right now you're doing, oh, this is so easy. If it was so easy, you would have done it before you walked in the room. Doing it right now in front of me means you can copy really well. It seems like you know it, but you got to do it on your own. That's the only way you're going to prove if you know it. Right now it's like, oh, this, oh, it makes sense. I'm doing it for you. Okay? You got to do it on your own. You got to do it on your own. Okay? Questions there? Yep.
Are we doing like if it's skewed to the right?
Oh yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. After we finish the split step, we'll answer all those questions. Okay? Now, the difference between a regular stem plot and a split stem plot is we're splitting the data. We're splitting the data, which basically means instead of one row of zeros, we're gonna have what?
2.
2 rows. So I'm gonna put the line again, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. So the difference between a regular stem plot and a split stem plot is that we're breaking the data into lower half and upper half, just like the example we did last class. So if you need to refer to that example, this is your second example, okay? You have to study, So we talked about what goes in the lower, what goes in the upper. So what goes in the lower is anything 0 to 4, and what goes in the upper is anything 5 to 9. So looking at those 7 zeros, will they go in the lower zeros or the upper zeros? Lower zeros. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do we have anything in the upper zeros? Like 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9? No. What would go in the lower ones?
10.
0, 0, the 2 10s. What would go in the upper ones?
8.
8. What would go in the lower 2s?
All of them.
All of them, actually, yeah, you're right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 3, and the 4. What would go in the upper 2s? Nothing. Lower 3s? 0, 0, 2. Upper 3s? Nothing. Lower 4s? 0, 0. Upper 4s? Nothing. Lower 5s? 0. Now, why would we do a split stem? What's the point of it? Why don't we just have it with a regular? The point of the split stem is, are more people working the lower zeros or the upper zeros?
I'm in lower.
Lower. Definitely lower. Everyone's 0. Lower zeros. What about between the lower ones and upper ones? About the same. Lower 2s or upper 2s? Lower 2s, for sure. And then the other ones, they're kind of on the lower end, the 3, the 4, and the 5. But here's why we break it up a little bit more. If I want to talk about this class, how are you guys as far as hours of work? Where do most of you guys fall?
Between 20 and 4.
Yeah, we can talk about the middle. The middle is about 20. That would be 7. Okay. Where do you see some high peaks? Zeros. A lot of people don't work. And a lot of people work part-time. So remember we talked about how many mounds there are? This one looks like it has 2 mounds, 2 humps. And what I mean by that is a lot of people work none, and a lot of people work part-time. Does that make sense in this class? Why? You're going to school, right? There's only so many hours in a day. It's difficult to work full-time and go full-time to school. And that's what is shown here. Most of you don't work, which is great. And most of you guys, if you do work part-time. What else I think is interesting is, how many people work 5 hours a week? Nobody. It's not really worth it for 5 hours. You know what I'm saying? So if you work, you're either not going to work, it's not worth it for 5, or you're going to probably work for 20 hours. Does that make sense? And that makes sense in reality. If you're going to have a job, you're not going to have a job where you work 5 hours a week. You're going to work at least 20, or you're not going to work at all. And that's kind of represented here. Does that make sense? And that's true. Also, there's another reason why a bunch of you guys work 20. Do you know why the 20s are not working 30?
Healthcare.
Yeah, according to law, if you work on average over 29 hours, your job employer has to give you insurance. The point of the law was, hey, more people are going to get insurance. But what ended up happening? They cut hours. And they cut hours so they don't have to give you insurance. So instead of having one employee work more hours and get insurance, I'm going to hire 2 part-time. So it kind of backfired a bit in some cases. And an example of that would be Valencia. Valencia part-time is under 29. If you work part-time at Valencia, they'll only give you 25. And you're like, but the law is 29. 29 was okay. Valencia is super scared. So if they give everybody 25, they're nowhere near 29. It's actually an average of 29. So we're like, well, let's do 25, so no one's even going to be close. So we don't have to worry about giving these people insurance. We'll just hire more part-time. Right? And it is expensive to give people insurance, but the whole point of the law is to give more. Okay? So to answer the questions up top, how many numbers are there total? 24. There's 24 numbers. So where would the center number be? The 12th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What's the center number? 20. So the center of the distribution, I would say, is 20, which is about right. The spread. What's the spread of how many hours we work from 1 to 1? 0 to 50. Now this is a little weird. Remember, real data is going to be messy. Real data is going to be messy. If you take the histogram, or if you take the regular stem plot, tilt your head to the right, or even the split stem plot, if you had to pick a shape, skewed left, skewed right, or symmetric, what shape do you see? Skewed to the right. Remember, the drag is the right side where the pull is. So I would say skewed to the right. And what is causing the skew to the right? The 50, the outlier, if there's an outlier. Depends how you look at it. But the 50 is causing that drag. Most people work very few hours, but we do have a few people that work full-time. Even 50 hours are just kind of over full-time. Now, as far as unimodal, bimodal, or multimodal, you can argue two things. You can argue unimodal, one hump in the middle, about 20, or you can argue bimodal. I'm going to argue bimodal. And again, both will be correct on the test, as long as you back it up. But if you argue bimodal, which is what I'm going to do, who are these two peaks? People that what? Don't work? And who's the other group?
Part-time.
Part-time. It looks like in this class, we have two mounds, two peaks. And those two peaks are people that work part-time and people that don't work. So I'd call this bimodal. But I'd also accept unimodal if you back it up. I'd also accept symmetric if you back it up. Okay? I can't accept skewed to the left. There's no way to justify that. So what you're learning in statistics is, as long as you can back it up, as long as you can back it up. And then the last question says, anything unusual? Does anything stick out? Yeah, the 50 stands out. Now here's the question. The dilemma is, in the histogram, 50 is an outlier because you have that space. In the regular stem plot, the data flows. It doesn't look like an outlier. In this case, it looks like there's a ton of outliers, right? So what you have to do, and unfortunately this is real life, you have to look at it holistically. Look at the whole thing and make a judgment. We do have a formula for identifying an outlier, but I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about, what does your gut tell you? Looking at this data, do you think 50 is an outlier, or do you think 50 is normal? What's your gut tell you?
Close to normal, I mean, close to 41.7.
Well, what I'm saying is like, most people work 20. So would it be unusual if someone works 50?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And again, you could argue both ways, but I would probably argue that 50 is an outlier. Again, later on we can use a formula to figure out if it is or not. But it is unusual to go to school full-time and to work a 50-hour job. That's unusual. Looking where most of you guys are about 20 hours. 20 or 0. Yes, sir. Jamil?
Can you repeat the name of, like, if it has one peak, 2 peaks? Or
Perfect. If there's one peak, we say that's unimodal. Unimodal. If it has 2 peaks, we call that bimodal. Anything beyond 2, we call multimodal. And again, just like you did, perfect. If you have a question, just raise that hand, ask. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. I just talk loud.
And that's the 2, like.
Yeah. So it kind of looks like if I threw a blanket up top, there's a hump at the 0 and there's a hump at the 2. But again, if someone else argued that there's only one hump, because really it's the 20, I would accept that as well. It's really tough to have a clear answer when you're looking at real data, because real data is messy, right? We just do our best to explain it and back it up. We good? Not too bad? But again, what is it showing you? You have to practice the calculator, and you really have to think. It's not like answer 5. No. What do you see? What do you think? Back it up. This is real thinking. This is called critical thinking. Okay? And all of you can do it. And keep in mind, the whole point of the notes is, if you're having histogram trouble, you have 3 examples to go back and learn. You can do the video, you can go back and do the notes, but you have 3 examples to practice as far as histogram. Okay? So we flip the page. Now, what we're going to do today is kind of back up a little bit, and we're going to look at kind of the more basic pictures, ones you're probably already familiar with. We're going to start with a bar chart. We're going to start with a bar chart. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think of some movies. Think of some movies. I don't want them to be like brand new, because I'm going to tell you how much money those movies made at the box office. In the US and Canada, people that went to the movies, not renting in a red box and stuff, how much money did the movie make? So I want you to call out movies any time period, just not like brand new. Yep.
The Thing.
The Thing. Definitely not new.
So you can.
Other movies, just call them out.
Transformers.
Transformers, which one?
Revenge of the Fall.
Revenge.
Fast and Furious 6.
Fast and Furious 6.
Total Recall.
Fast and
Those
Furious
are
6. And then Total Recall, one more.
Yes. President.
Age, we'll do different kind of.
Star Wars.
Which Star Wars?
Rogue One.
Rogue One, New Hope, all these other.
Which one?
New Hope.
Okay.
Okay, so Star Wars, New Hope. Thank you for not saying Titanic. I get Titanic. I usually get Titanic, and believe it or not, the second one I get is what's the one? The Notebook. I get that all the time. It's The Notebook. The Notebook is a great movie about cheating on your fiance. The Thing. Well, there's a 2011 one.
The 1988, 1982. The 2011 was a prequel.
The Thing. Was it still called that?
Yeah, it was John Carpenter, that guy. I don't know if he made the prequel one. And Total Recall, there was a remake, but I'm talking about like
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
The Thing is only coming out. I may have to do.
Just type in 1982. I think you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, this again. I'm using a website called the Leaders Movie Guide.
Oh,
So it may not have everything, but I'm surprised it has the 2011. Unless it had a different name. You know, it had a different name.
no, it's just called The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing, really.
The Thing box office. 1982. 19.6 million. 19.6 million. Actually, no, let's just call it 20. I don't want to do that much right now. Let's keep it simple. 20. Let's do Transformers. This one is the one that came out in 2007. Which one's that?
Revenge.
That's the first one.
Is that the first one? See if I can find it.
Which?
Revenge of the Nerds. No, we don't want that. Transformers 2. Guess how much that one made?
37.
402 million.
God.
Again, at the box office, US and Canada. So Fast and Furious 6. Stop watching. Fast and Furious 6, which came out 2011. How much do you think that made? 238.
Wow.
Total Recall, Arnold Schwarzenegger. That came out in 1990. 119. And then Star Wars. Star Wars, A New Hope, which is the first one, but number, what, 4? 1977. Guess how much that made? More or less than Transformers.
Yeah, definitely.
461. 461. Okay? So what happens is we have a bunch of movies and we have the sales, but we want to be able to compare them visually. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to make a bar chart. Now, if I want my bars to go up and down, vertical, up and down, should I put my movies on the x-axis or should I put my movies on the y-axis? No.
That should be X, yeah, it would be easier.
On the x-axis. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to put the movies on the x-axis. So I'm going to put movies on the x-axis. What was the thing?
The Thing was it was a movie about
Is it a
an alien.
monster?
It's an alien.
What does the alien look like?
He's a big pile of goop that absorbs you
Okay,
and turns into.
so I'm gonna do my best to draw a big pile of poop.
It's a good sci-fi.
This is that emoji you sent me. So that's the thing.
Yeah, sure, why not?
And
It's just
then Transformers. Let me try to draw Transformers. So it's a transformer. Remember, you're paying for math, not art. Fast and Furious. We'll draw a cool looking car. Wow. Total Recall.
that's gonna be hard to draw, isn't
What
it?
should I draw? I'll draw Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay.
Star Wars. Draw one of those fighter planes.
Oh, TIE fighter, sorry.
What is it called?
It's called a TIE fighter, but I think that looks more like Vader's style.
Looks like a bug.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Okay, so there's your movies. And then we're going to put our money on the y-axis. I'm going to start with 0. You don't always have to start at 0, but I'll start with 0. Now, this is where some thinking comes in. The lowest a movie made was 20 million. The most a movie made was 461. So I need to figure out a scale that would fit these movies. So 0 to maybe what?
500 million?
500?
Yeah.
And if we're going to go from 0 to 500, not only do we need to know where to begin and where to end, we also need to know what to count by. So what do you think we should count by? Should we count by ones? Probably not, right? We don't want to sit here all day. 50s or 100s. So again, it's all about the thinking, looking at the data, what is most appropriate. So I'm going to count by hundreds. I'm a bit lazy. So we have our movies on the x-axis. We have our money on the y-axis. What is our bar chart missing?
The title?
The title, yeah, but also the bars. So let's put some bars in there. So the thing made 20 million. We'll put a bar up to 20 million. Transformers made 402, so we do a bar up to 402. Fast and Furious made 238, so we put a bar up to 238. Total Recall made 119. And New Hope Star Wars made 461. Now again, we've all made this before, but what are some benefits? What's beneficial about making a bar chart is you can side by side, determine how much money each one made, who made the most, who made the least, how close were they. It's a quick visual. Okay? Questions on a bar chart? Some of you guys are perfect, precise, making sure every line is pristine. You should walk around and see if your pictures, if you put the titles. You probably drew pictures. Any questions on a bar chart? Okay, so let's pretend you're a movie company and you put all those movies out at the same time. So let's pretend you're the movie company, you put all those movies out at the same time. And you want to find out what percent each movie brought in. What percent each movie brought in. So the thing made 20, Transformers made 402, Fast and Furious 6 made 238, Total Recall made 119, and Star Wars made 461. So if you're the movie company that put all those movies out at the same time, if you're the movie company that put all those movies out at the same time, if I want to find out what percent each movie brought in, what's step one? The total. So go ahead and add them up. Take out your calculator, add them up. Call it out when you got it.
1,200.
1,000, 1240?
Yeah.
1240. Are we getting the same number? Now, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to know, I'd like you to tell me what percent each movie brought in. What percent each movie brought in. So basically, to find out what percent each movie brought in, what will I be doing? Taking the number divided by the total, a decimal percent. Now I want you to do it on your own, and I want you to have 4 decimal places. Round 4 decimal places. So 4 decimal places, go from decimal to percent, all the way down. Try it on your own. And I'm going to play music now, but I'm going to play royalty-free music, which basically means it's like a lot of classical music. But YouTube can't stop. I'm going to work it out as well, so you're done with it like that. Remember 4 decimal places, and then convert to percent. And when you're done, it should add up to about 100%. Any questions on going from fraction, decimal, percent? I will tell you that my style app can be a little picky. If you round wrong, they'll mark it wrong. If you don't round enough decimal places, they can be a little picky if you haven't noticed so far. Questions there? So basically, the thing brought up about 1.61%. Transformers brought about 32.42%. Fast and Furious 6 brought 19.19%. Total Recall 9.6%. Star Wars 37.18%. So Star Wars brought the most. and transformers brought in second. Okay, but again, people don't really like to stare at numbers. People want a picture, a visual. So one way to take care of this is to talk about a pie chart. And with a pie chart, the entire amount, 100%, is a pie. 100% is the entire pie. And what we're going to do is we're going to break it up into sections. So to kind of help you with that, we have a circle representing 100% of the movies. Put a dot kind of at the center. Put a dot kind of at the center. And a couple things you know. Well, the whole thing's 100. Half would be 50%. A quarter would be 25%. So usually what I tell people is start with the largest one. So 37% would be more than a third. And we're about right there. So that would be Star Wars at 37.18%. The other largest would be Transformers, which is pretty much about a third. So it's more than a quarter, less than a half. That'd be Transformers. And then the next one would be that 19%. So that would be under a quarter. That'd be the Fast and Furious 6 at 19%. And then we have 1 and 9, so we'll cut a little sliver for the thing. That would be the thing at 1.61%. And that could be total recall at 9.6%. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to be perfect. But you can clearly see Star Wars had the most. Transformers were second. Poor little thing. Didn't bring in a bunch, but it's a movie classic, a cult classic. Okay, so any questions on a bar chart or any questions on a pie chart? Again, things you've seen before, but I don't want to overlook it. I want to make sure you review it as well. Questions there? Okay, so next page. So I'm going to go ahead and ask for some data. I'm going to go ahead and ask for some data again, and we're going to look at it. Okay, so the question I'm going to ask you is, how many credits are you taking this semester? And we're going to look at it, we're going to turn the mode. The mode is the number that appears most often. Okay, so start here, how many credits are you taking? 11, 9, 3, 7, 9, 12, 10, 13, 6, 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 9, 11, 14, 2 more, 12 and 13. You guys are weird. Okay, because I'll tell you why it's weird. The reason why it's a little weird and unusual, which is great, is because you'd expect what number over and over again? 12, right? Full-time is considered 12 credits. And most of our classes are 3 credits. But you'll notice a bunch of you guys are 13, 9. That's kind of interesting, right? So we kind of look into that a little bit. Why would statistics students, 2,000 level class, have kind of weird numbers and not 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12? Science, right? A science class can be typically 4 credits, right? So many of you now, because you're a sophomore, are taking your science classes that include a lab, right? And that's probably explaining most of it. Any other weird classes people are taking?
There's Spanish 2, that's 4 hours.
Spanish 2 could be 4 hours, right? What's that? Calc 1 is 5 credits. So usually your freshman year, you're taking all general 3 credit classes. but it kind of changes when you're a sophomore. But having said all that, of all the numbers, what number appears the most? Ooh, it seems that 12 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 13 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. So which one's the most? 12. Now let's say 12 and 13 have the same number. Which one's the mode? Both of them. You can have more than one mode. You can have more than one mode. But the reason why 12 is the mode is that what most people that consider full-time, most classes are 3. That's the combination you'd expect the most. Okay, so mode is the number that occurs the most, and it gives you information. Now, you can also determine mode not by numbers, but by words. So I want you to pick which one could you not live without. Which one could you not live without? Your cell phone, internet, television, landline phone. Now, for those that don't know, a landline phone is the phone that goes on the wall and you're stuck by a cord, unless you have a cordless phone. Email, 8-track tape player. I'm not even going to try to explain it. Before you guys stole music, MP3, there were CDs. Before CDs, there were cassettes. And then before cassettes, there were records. And before that, 8-tracks. Okay? So again, raise your hand. Which one could you not live without? I already know what you're thinking. You're trying to put things together. But just pick one. Which one could you not live without? Raise your hand for cell phone. Can't live without your cell phone. 1, 2, I know what you're thinking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Internet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19. This is really tough. Television. 1 person. Landline phone. Still don't know what it is. 0. What if you need 911? Email. 0. 8-track tape player. Go to a museum. 0. Okay? So here's what your thinking was. Your thinking was, which one can I get everything? So probably you're thinking, if I have the internet, then you can call people, you can watch TV, you can research and all that stuff. That's probably what you're thinking. But you can also do that with your cell phone. So usually most people pick cell phone because on your cell phone you can watch TV, make phone calls, access the internet, but it really depends. I know what you're thinking. So for us, what would the mode be? The internet. Okay, so not only does that be words, but the mode can also be words. But what's really interesting is cell phone is crazy right now. If you left your house, got to the parking lot, and realized you didn't have your wallet, you'd probably be like, oh man, I forgot my wallet. But if you forgot your cell phone, you would probably go back. We are so tied to our phones that we can't live without it, right? That's usually our biggest complaints as teachers, is that you have to be on your cell phone. You have to be on your cell phone. You got to check what's going on. You don't, okay? A long time ago, we didn't do that. You know what we used to do a long time ago? Meet you at the corner at 5. You're like, well, how do you find each other? You were at the corner at 5. You didn't have to call, you didn't have to text, and do this other stuff. And it's weird because it's in our blood now. It's in our veins, because I was at Disney with some friends of mine. This is just a couple years ago. And my friend's mom said, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And my friend freaked out. She says, Mom, do you have your phone? How are we going to find you? And the mom goes, I'll come back here and I'll find you. But the daughter couldn't figure that out because you're so in bed. Like, and I worry about manners, because right now when you go pick someone up, do you go to the door? Excuse me, come on out, let's go hang out. What do?
Come outside.
You don't even do that. You're like, here. One word on your phone, here, and then you got to come outside, right? So be careful, because you can live without your phones. It is totally possible. And they're actually saying that, how old do you have to be to drive a car? 16. A lot of people aren't getting the driver's license at 16. They're waiting to 18 or older, because what a car meant was you had freedom. I get in my car and meet my friends. You know what freedom is? A cell phone. You can call everybody, set up meetings, you do whatever you want, all on your cell phone, so they don't really need a car. You can set up chats, this, that, Google Hangouts, Skype, whatever you want. You can meet people, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, all that stuff. Okay, so it's really interesting how a major impact cell phones are having on our lives. Okay? Well, when we look at pictures, other things we need to look at is variability. Now, variability talks about spread, how diverse. Another word for variability could be diversity. Okay, so here we have on the left, we have white, Asian, African American, American Indian. Would this be a very diverse, or would this graph have a lot of variety? No, this is a totally white neighborhood, right? Where like one Asian guy runs that restaurant, African American runs that restaurant, Native American sells stuff. This is not diverse at all. It's all white, right? But on this other side, and again, it's tough to read it, but this would be more variability. Are we okay? So when we look at a graph, we can also look at variability. Also, be very, very careful. Be very, very careful because what people do is you can be tricked. So I'm telling you, make visuals. People want to understand pictures. We know that. So what happens is people can manipulate things with pictures. So if you look at this picture, it says massive increase in home price. And you notice in 1998, we have a small bar. In 1999, we have a large bar. And people says, oh my gosh, I can't afford a house anymore. Look how high the bar is in 1999. But if you look closely, what's the difference between 1999 and 1998?
More like 2,000.
Like $2,000. Are you going to not buy your dream home for $2,000? No. But if you mess with the scale, you can see a huge difference or a small difference. Like Coke and Pepsi. Coke, gigantic graph. Pepsi, small graph. Difference, one person. That's all it takes. One person could change the scale, make it as wide or as narrow as you want. So be careful. If you look at this next graph, on the left and on the right, it talks about annual snowfall. Which graph has a bigger difference?
Second.
The first.
They're the same. They're exactly the same. On the left, it looks like a small difference between the two, and on the right, it looks like a large difference. But if you look at the scale, 1623, 1623. All I have to do is mess with the scale, and you can see a big difference or a small difference. So the thing with statistics is this. There's a saying. You